What is good, everybody? My name is Mark. I am the founder and creator of the LFG show, Legacy for Generations, and I'm really excited to be on the YouTube platform. This is going to be our very first time putting up a video podcast onto YouTube. Originally, our podcast is about 7 episodes deep, mainly all audio, and I was encouraged to just put that video file onto YouTube and see what happens. So, I do apologize that the quality is not even up to my own standard. However, the conversation is very much still intact. And just to give you a quick preview of what you're going to see, it's a conversation with myself and my business partner Charles, and we really just dive deep into how we got started, who the LFG show even is, and how we plan to help the audience grow their business. And I really hope you guys get a lot of value. That's what all of this is all about. It's about serving the people that tune in. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and I'm looking forward to putting more episodes up on YouTube. Thanks.
What up, y'all? My name is Charles Tagai, also Bay Area born and raised. Mark and I have been friends for over 20 years now and decided to start this podcast together to stretch some visions, open up some minds, and share our own experiences and hear other people's stories as well.
Yeah.
As for myself, I'm a realtor, been in real estate for 8 years, maybe 8 years, I would say.
Been a minute.
And also started up another business in financial services. Nice. So trying to do my own thing, make it in this world. And Mark and I are doing this all together. So, I mean, anytime I could work with a friend. Not always easy, but always exciting too.
Definitely. And yeah, man, I think, Charles and I over the years have just built a relationship where we just look at things like in the same wavelength at times. And, when it came to just creating and spreading knowledge and education to other people out there, I think we were both in the same boat as far as, reaching more people. Because obviously for us, from the Bay Area and from a Filipino family, we really care about, values like family and keeping our friends close and trying to grow everything as one, not in a selfish way, not in an egotistical way, but just from a place of giving back and, just wanting to have people grow with us. So right. The whole premise of this podcast really for us, I think, is, legacy for generations. Now, when we came to that idea, I remember calling up Charles and I was like, dude, first of all, LFG, I think is like a cool name because of course, like, let's fucking go, right? Like everyone just can relate to like that slogan. But, the day I came up with the idea, like, bro, like, let's call it like legacy for generations. It kind of just tied into things like real estate, financial services, and just being an entrepreneur altogether because, we feel like we can really pass these on to other people, right? And have other people jump into business as well for themselves and their own mindset because we both feel that like the 9-to-5 mindset isn't the only way. Exactly. Right. Do you want to expand on that a little bit, Charles?
So I've been without a 9-to-5 for at least 8 years now since Nice. I've been in real estate. A little bit different from most of my friends. Most of them are 9-to-5 people, but I also have a big handful of friends and even close family that's not 9-to-5. And there are differences in how we approach things mentally or even just having time off and things like that and where we want to allocate our time for hanging out. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is, right? People have to have a living and earn for their families and for themselves to be able to survive. So definitely understandable. But with not being in a 9-to-5, there's definitely a lot more flexibility that I've experienced and that I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm. Dude, and I saw that, from the get-go, man. Like, I think the good balance between our experiences is for me working in healthcare. Although I feel like I'm helping people by doing healthcare, I also saw you over these past 8 years having like things like time freedom or being your own boss, like not having to answer to anyone but, your own schedule and everything like that. And I can tell you from afar, I was like, man, like I would love to try my hand at like entrepreneurship because those are all the things that I would want for myself and my life. So, first off, just thank you for being that example of like someone just going out there and leaving the 9-to-5 mindset and just kind of influencing people like me to try it for myself. But I also had my first daughter, so things, got a little, you got to reprioritize things when you have like your first daughter. But now I kind of like really just feel like I see the way of the entrepreneur, and you've definitely been like that guy that I can kind of like look to your experience and use it for myself, and like leverage that for
right
me.
on. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I
of course.
appreciate that for real. But I mean, just because, like, I say I do love not having the 9 to 5. Work doesn't stop. You know what I mean? As an entrepreneur, whenever there's business doesn't stop. When the phone's ringing, you pick it up. But it is really having that discipline to be able to stay in that, because there is such thing as getting burnt out, right? And that happens pretty easily in a 9 to 5 as well. But I think I've just had some experiences in life where I've been able to separate that and really cherish the time that I have with friends and family. But when it's work time, it's grind time.
So like if you were to expand on that a little bit, like what was that experience like for you when you were like, you know what, like I want to try my hand at real estate? Because when you jump into something like that, it's not just like an easy decision, right? Like what I mean by that is like the money doesn't just come to you right away.
Right.
Like you got to take like a sacrifice of like time and money and really like hone in on your craft, and like even like zeroing in on exactly what you want to do with real estate can take some time. But like what was that transition like for you 8 years ago?
Dude, it sucked. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It sucked. I actually didn't even know I was gonna do real estate. I kind of just fell into it, trying to find something where I didn't have to answer to a boss, just because of previous life experiences. Not long before that, just wanted to make sure I had the time for people, or certain people. And dude, my first year, I didn't do shit. Excuse me, but yeah, I didn't do anything. I did like one deal. I felt like I didn't have the right mentors. I mean, there were big events that I wanted to make, but I didn't have the money, so I took on side jobs. I was throwing newspapers at night, just so I could make it out to Mexico for a good friend's wedding. Anything to make things work, and I guess that all ties into doing what you got to do to make things happen. But yeah, it wasn't until my second year where things started to happen. I switched brokerages. Felt like I had the right mentor who literally taught me everything I know in real estate today, and on how to move and everything. And I'm super grateful for that. But even meeting him, I met him at my previous job, and I just heard him speak at the end of a conference or something. And I just approached him at the end. I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I helped you buy phones. I worked at AT&T for 4 years. And he just happened to remember me, and then took me under his wing. And that was the year where everything just clicked. But my first year sucked, dude. Like I said, throwing newspapers and whatnot.
Dude, like that's what I mean by that, man, is like hearing that story right there, Charles, is exactly what I mean. Like the sacrifice that people have to make. Like not a lot of people know like the sacrifice it takes. But I will say simultaneously, that's the exact reason why a lot of people don't want to try their hand at entrepreneurship, because they know it's just full of roller coasters, right? But I just feel like for me, I can't really talk from too much experience right now. Like I'm working on getting there. Like the business is picking up in a good way right now. The timing is starting to pick up to where like that sacrifice moment is kind of passing by a little bit. But I just understand, like just from your experience and from other people's experience that they share, that like, you got to stick with it. Like if you're going to make the commitment to stick with it, like commit, bro. Like you got to stay committed.
Yeah.
Because if you don't stay committed, like let's say for your story, if in your first year after you said, that really sucked and it was tough, like imagine if you were to quit at that point.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you would never see that full potential, like, that you had just kind of like show itself. And that's why I think we put this show together, is to tap into the mentality that entrepreneurs have, because I really feel like entrepreneurs that go out and build their own business, whatever that business may be, are just built a little bit different than majority of the people out there.
Right. I agree. I'm not trying to say that I'm like that entrepreneur or whatever. There's still a lot for me to learn and to see and learn, but definitely have had a taste of it growing up in real estate or any other business venture. But yeah, you definitely do have to stick with it. The commitment is, it's do or die. That's how I looked at it. I did approach it as a way of this is what I'm choosing. I'm not a college graduate, so like not having a degree was a big thing for my family.
Mm.
Honestly, still kind of is, but I may go back to that. I don't know, but as for right now, it's like in my experience at that time, it's like I made more. I was making money and I was helping the family more working than being in school, and I sucked at school.
Mm.
Like I just didn't have the patience for it. Like, I mean, I could take a test and study, but dude, sitting in class sucked.
Yeah, I feel it, man. Like I'm in the same boat as you, Charles. Like I didn't go to college for like a big time degree or anything like that. I did go to vocational school for pharmacy technician. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in a Filipino family. I needed to have that backup plan. So, with that said, my mom and sister, they're both nurses. I knew I didn't want to be a nurse, but I had to get something. So, long story short, like going into I don't even remember what year it was, man, but going into pharmacy technician, it sounds so unsexy, but at the same time, it's just, I needed to have something in my back pocket because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I liked to be creative and I like to do creative things, but I just really didn't see what I was like passionate about. If I jumped into nursing, I really feel like I would have been doing something that wasn't like very fulfilling to me.
Right.
So I honestly just got my pharmacy technician license to please like my parents.
And be in the healthcare
Yeah,
industry.
and I don't blame them for that. Like it was my own because of my own indecision of not knowing what I wanted to do. I was
Hmm.
willing to kind of bite that bullet. I'm like, okay, well, I'll go get my pharmacy technician license. I'll have that in my back pocket, but it's definitely not like what I'm passionate about. But I
But you were
look back at that. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, but you were able to complete and get your
Yeah, yeah.
was it license or pharmacy farm tech license or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, at least you were able to do that, bro. Like
Right.
I didn't do anything. Like tried to do nursing, and to be honest, when I think back at it, like I had to be depressed, like for sure.
Right.
I probably didn't show it as much, but I was angry. I mean, but I was definitely not feeling life as I feel life now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I mean, still, hats off for you to being able to complete that because I didn't even on
Yeah,
my end didn't complete anything.
bro. Right on. Yeah. So, as far as like education goes, like I'm really big on, man, like the education system, I do not hate on it at all. Do not get it twisted. Like we are not, you know, throwing dirt on education system
Definitely not.
whatsoever. Like
Definitely
the
not.
people that go out there and get their education, like more power to you. It's just that was your journey and our journey ended up being a little bit different. But
Mhm.
now look at me and Charles out here trying to expand upon, like entrepreneurship and business and, positive thinking and mindset. And we didn't need to go to college for that. We just kind of had a different path
Mhm.
because we both have, the same circle of friends. And a lot of our friends have gone to college. They're nurses. We have friends that are doctors, pharmacists, like you name it. Like we have a pretty well-rounded circle of friends. So I guess just for all our friends out there, we are not talking bad about the
Definitely
education
not.
system, but just basically sharing our journeys. And me getting into pharmacy technician side of things, like, I can honestly say like that was not my passion. That was not my fulfillment. But looking back at it, I have no regrets because like really, I just didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I can't blame that on anyone else. I'm still glad I did it. But now I'm looking back at that experience, like that was Mark kind of giving in to the whole corporate side America. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. And the
like have something in
pressures.
your bag. Like, bro, like Mark, you're gonna be able to make 60 grand a year. So that's that's financial security. Like, no, it's not. Like, but at the same time, like that's what we thought growing up. And that's what, our relationship with just like money and everything changes over time. And that's what like me and Charles are excited to get into more with you guys today. So yeah, I mean, let's just start there. Like that's a little bit about our background. You guys will probably learn a lot more over the course of these episodes. But to dive into today's kind of topics, like what really was it that that pushed us to want to start LFG?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, but
Mm-hmm.
some of the bigger reasons is, uh, I mean, as what's called legacy for generations, trying to leave our mark for our next of kin or whatnot. Also trying to open up people's minds. You know, eventually want to have people on here who are doing the same thing, have their own hustles going on, their own businesses and whatnot, and hearing what their experiences are, ups, downs, all the way arounds, and everything in between, because it's definitely not what everyone shows on Instagram and whatnot. It's not all good shit. You know what I mean? I mean, there's definitely a dark side to it. So yeah, getting people's stories, um, and opening people's minds to showing you that like a 9 to 5 is not the only way. Whether it is your main way or you just have like a side gig, making money. I mean, I'm a big believer in having multiple streams of income, or multiple hustles, because there's so many ways to get money out there. It's just how are you gonna get it?
Yeah, 100%. And just to piggyback off that, as far as like, we're also here to help people, right? Like we want to serve others. Like maybe there's another, person out there thinking of joining like the entrepreneurship side
Right.
or creating their own business, but something's holding them back. And usually what's holding them back is just taking the risk. Like
The
people
fear.
are, yeah, so many people like myself, I feared so many things. Like so many things pop up in your mind when you think about, you know, joining a venture like this. So many scary things can pop up into your mind, especially for me having a family, me having my first daughter, and thinking like, man, like is me starting my own business really smart for me, or should I just stay at this healthcare job that's paying me pretty well and just stay with it and just kind of like eat my pride at that point. You know what I mean? Because I can say firsthand, like, I don't know if my manager watching this, but it's not my fulfillment to want to do that job. It pays so well. It gives me benefits. It gives my family benefits. Extremely grateful for all of it, but it's not what I see as fulfilling my life. And that's why I wanted to go out and create something like this and connect with people like Charles, like other friends that we have, and other guests that we are planning to have on the show, to just dive deeper into how entrepreneurs and business people are just built a little bit different. Diving into like being an entrepreneur and doing, starting your own business. Like, what's your relationship with money? Like, so much of being an entrepreneur is like knowing how to manage not only time but just like money. And me personally, I wasn't great with money. Like some of my friends out there listening might know that already, like growing up, but that's all I knew. Like I kind of got my money habits from my parents, and nothing against them. I don't want to, make them, shine them in a bad light, but they did spend on a lot of things that we just didn't need, and I inherited that. So with that said, like, what was your relationship with money growing up?
Relationship with money growing up was it was interesting. I mean, when I think back to my younger years, I mean, we obviously didn't have our own money and whatnot, but I did a really good job of saving my birthday money and Christmas money and things like that. I didn't spend too much when I was younger, but once I learned that I could lose it, I ended up using it. But I mean, that did change as life went on. I mean, I'm a private school kid. Um, by no means does that mean that we were wealthy or well off or anything like
Right.
that. I mean, I was a private school kid on financial aid, in a pretty wealthy, affluent school, where I definitely was not a kid with money. And, everyone around me has like a nice Beamer, Benz, whatever. And I'm over here driving like a 94 4-speed two-door Tercel.
Bro, so you're
But I
telling
was
me
mobbing though.
you're pretty much Will Smith in Fresh Prince of Bel Air is what you're telling me.
Kinda. I mean, I had my group of friends that I grew up with,
Yeah.
who were all kind of in the same boat as well. But we never really like labeled each other for money and things like that. We just had
Mhm.
our own friendships, and we were cool with that. But yeah, it wasn't until high school where I like noticed the differences of levels of wealth and whatnot.
Yeah, man. So like with that said, like what I'm just imagining you uh as a high schooler, surrounded by all this money, like what did that instill in you? Like did that make you want to go out there and like and flex and spend money when you got it and flex on people? Like how did you manage that?
Not really, definitely not. One, it's just not my style to do that. I
Yeah.
know that for myself. but it did make me hungry. I wanted more for myself, right? But definitely not one to, when I had money, was to flex it and whatnot. Like, it really went towards other things like food. Like, I'll tell you, like, um, my best friend and I, we we'd get like $20 a week for lunch
Mhm.
from Monday to Friday. Um, and on Thursdays we'd get out of school at 1:40, and there's a Safeway about a 5-10 minute walk down the street, and we'd splurge out splurge out our lunch there on like good chicken tenders and whatnot. But I mean, we even did things at school to get money, like, flip some gear. We played basketball for some money sometimes. It was just, we knew we weren't as wealthy as some of these other kids who get in an accident and get a brand new car the next week, but it didn't, I wouldn't say it like hindered our experience in high
Right.
school. You know what I mean?
I feel that, man. And for me going into high school, like I kind of had a different experience. Like I don't know what it was with me and my family. I got my spending habits from them, and they like to like flex a little bit. You know what I mean? That Filipino flex. Like my mom is totally the type to have like that nice like Louis Vuitton bag, just to show that she can afford it. And like when I look back at it, I don't regret a day of it, but I'm also just like, man, I kind of inherited that a little bit through the years, where I'll try to like flex a little bit with my clothes and do all those things. But now I'm just at a point where I'm just like, man, all that stuff just really just isn't important, and all it is a flex. And we didn't even have the internet back then. We didn't have
Right.
Instagram,
Same.
TikTok, none of that stuff to really show off the flex. Like I really just wanted to show off and flex. But I think a lot of that came from really like deep down it came from like being insecure, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that flex came from being someone that I wanted to portray on the outside. Like I wanted these clothes to show someone like, oh man, Mark got some clean clothes. Like, he's got money or something. But dude, it's such the wrong way to go about life. And that's definitely something I don't want my daughter to inherit from me. You know what I'm saying? Like I want her to understand the value of the dollar and to put your money in a smart place, you know?
Right. But sometimes it's when you mention that, it's all influenced by society, right? Like, uh, I mean, I could have had those pressures from other people who were fitted and whatnot. Back then it was pinwheel,
Right.
snapback, or fitted cap, and oversized jerseys. I had like one jersey, and it was a Golden State Warriors Jason Richardson jersey. Shout out.
Warriors, let's go.
But also a J Kid jersey, because we love the Bay.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah, I didn't have all the cool stuff like my friends would have. So it was, and when I did, it felt kind of weird already. Like, oh shit, look at Charles, he got a fit. Like, so it was kind of weird. But yeah, it's crazy that like it doesn't just come from what you've seen growing up from your parents or family. I mean, it gets influenced from your friendship circles and society around you, right? And that's, I don't know, it's just, when you were mentioning it, just kind of blew my mind. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. And like I bring that up because like, I don't want to give away our age. You guys will probably figure out our age later on the line in the episodes, but like we grew up in the late 90s, went to high school like in the early 2000s. And like when I think back at those times, just like we were just being marketed like or shown like commercials, and marketing was just so strong that we cared so
Music
much.
videos.
Yes, music videos, dude. Like, oh my God. Like we had like Total Request Live for like the top 10 videos, music videos. But now we just have YouTube where we can just go on there and not really know, what's cool. But
Follow your own path, pretty much.
yeah, basically what I'm saying is like we were sold the idea of, what was cool and what was in. And like I really, really feel like a lot of us that are like my age, I'm a millennial, but like we got our spending habits just like bombarded with all this advertisement of how we should look, how we should carry ourselves, and how we should flex on ourselves, like going to the club and wearing like headbands and oh my God, bro, it's so cringe. Like I can't even think back to that time without just like shivering a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I'm still grateful for all of it, but at the same time, man, like that's where I really got some bad money habits. And thank you for sharing that part of your upbringing. Because I definitely feel like in a Filipino family, you're either on that side of, you know, being really frugal and just smart with your money, like, oh, I don't want to spend on that, I don't care. Or you're going to be on that side of like, no, I want to like go get a job and I want to buy something dope and I want to flex. So there's always like that dynamic.
I mean, just because I was good as a kid with like saving my money and all that stuff, but didn't mean I was always good with my money. Even today, I'm pretty, I don't want to say irresponsible, but I do spend on stupid things sometimes. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, should I have done that? Should I have dropped this much money for this thing I didn't even like follow through with? Like, God, idiot. But I mean, it's all learning experiences, right? And I mean, I guess lucky for me, I have no like big financial tie downs like a daughter or anything like that. So I kind of do have that flexibility and freedom, but it doesn't excuse me from being an idiot, you know?
Yeah, definitely, man. So, with that said, I guess another way of segueing into another topic that we like to talk about is just like being like financially like secure. Like a lot of people have an idea of like what is financial security and what does it mean for us as individuals. And sometimes like financial security to people means like having a house or having like but I can speak on this topic a little bit. Like financial security for me, as an aspiring entrepreneur, I feel like financial security is more like time freedom. I think spending time with my family and my wife has just become more and more important these days, especially after like COVID and everything hit us. Like I feel like I really just want to spend time with my family and also build a business on my own terms. And I need to earn that though, So for me, financial security doesn't always just mean like, oh, like you got to secure the bag. And once you secure the bag, like all these things come. I'm really thinking in a different mindset nowadays that if you become like a fulfilled person and you do things to become as fulfilled as possible, things like the car, the house, maybe the boat or the vacation that you pay for your whole family, like will all come together. But if you are too attached to those symbols that come with wealth or people think come with wealth, I don't really believe that that's the right way to go about it. Like what do you think about like just being a more fulfilled person and all those things just kind of like coming for the ride is the way I like to look at it.
Yeah. It's a good question because it takes me back to how I got into real estate and in looking for a job where I didn't have to answer to a manager or a boss or whatever, right? Biggest reason is because when I was working at AT&T, which was a great job, I wasn't in control of my time, and my grandma, my last grandparent, had moved to the Philippines back home my senior year of high school, I believe. Yeah, my senior year of high school, and I didn't get to see her until after she passed. And every year, my mom would go home to her mom and on her birthday or whatever, and just visit her. My sister got to go a few times. I never got to go, and she was important to me because we had a close relationship. She was my last grandparent. I lost my first grandparent when I was in 7th grade, and he was my best friend. Like a lot of the stuff that I do today, or my dog's name is Lady because he had a dog named Lady. So not having time to go see her really took an influence on what I wanted for my future and the time that I had and where I wanted to spend the time, either at work or with family. Of course, you got to do both, right? But I didn't want to be stuck to where someone's telling me it's like, no, you can't go see a loved one if they're passing or whatever it is. And so that's what really shaped me into becoming a real estate agent and having my own time.
So would you say then, Charles, thank you for sharing that. Would you say like that's your why? Like we brought it up earlier about how in your first year it was a tough ride, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs will share with each other and say like, at those times that you feel like quitting, you got to revisit your reason why. Would you say like that's part of your reason why, something that you can pull back in your memory bank and think back about that time with your grandma not being able to see her, and that being a big influence on why you want to have yourself time freedom and the importance of spending time with family? Would you say that's part of your why, or do you want to expand on what your why is?
I would say that's a big part of my why, if not all of it. I mean, to me, relationships are almost everything, pretty much everything. I love my family, I love my friends dearly. I mean, Uncle Charles is definitely for the kids. I love kids. I mean, I'm a big kid myself, so I think kids are the coolest. And when I get to spend time and actually be there and be a part of their lives, it's it's important to me. I feel that, and maybe I'm soft or whatever. I don't give a fuck, but
Not
but
at all.
it is what's important to me, and I think um, I do a good job of exuding that energy because I know my family and friends feel that, and I do have the relationships with all these little ass kids, right?
Yeah. Bro, first of all, let me just say, like, dude, you spoke from the heart right there. And I can honestly say for a lot of my friends, because we have the same circle of friends, and you're the Funkle. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Funkle
Like,
Charles.
you are Funkle Charles. You know what I mean? So, I mean, let's just tell the
Fun
viewers,
uncle.
the viewers and the listeners out there exactly like, I don't know if it's a lot, but I'm blown away by this number. But what is your godchild number? Like, you're so close with so many of our friends that love you so much like family that they've decided to make Funkle Charles the godparent. So, like, how many godchildren do you have?
I have 10 now.
See, I think that's a lot, man.
It's a lot, dude. I mean, shit, it's a lot, but it is. It does feel good. I'm definitely honored and appreciate every time the question comes up. Will you be my godfather? I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
hell yeah. I got you. And it's just, and I know, like, especially in Filipino culture, like being a godfather is a lot of financial responsibility and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm first to tell the parents, like, hey, I'm not the best when it comes to giving gifts or money and things like that, but I will be there for sure. Like, I'll definitely have their back. But definitely not a good financial provider on that end, because I've seen it a few times. Even in my own relationships with my godparents, it's like I'm not expecting money, I'm not expecting gifts or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just thankful that they were there.
Right.
Like, I learned a lot from my dad's set of friends who all became my godparents, and my mom's set of friends who all became my godparents, my uncles and aunties. So I appreciate them all, and I never expected money or anything like that. But I know, just growing up and hearing people talk about it, oh, give your goddaughter money or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I think it definitely has like an expectation of like, if you're the godfather, you're supposed to give money. But I can firsthand say though, Charles, like, I feel like if you're going to make someone the godparent, don't expect X amount of dollars every single year. Like, you made someone the godparent because if something happens to you, you trust them with protecting their children.
Right.
If in the case something bad happens, that you can take over. That's the most important part.
Right.
And I like to think of it as, dude, you are trusted with 10 families with that honor of being that for their kids. Like, to me, that's big. That says a lot about, like, not just your character, but just how people pick up on how you treat family and treat friends, because they are giving you the blessing of being like a godparent. Like, for me, I'm like, bro, I'm blown away. Like, it's in the culture of in the Philippine culture, like, being a godparent is a huge ordeal. And like, you've been entrusted with so many families, and I just want to commend you for being like Funkle Charles. Like I see it with not just my kid, but just with other kids out there. Like, you really know how to connect with children on that level, because you're a big kid yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I wanted to start this show with you, because you're a big kid and you don't take yourself too seriously, but you can be serious at the right time. But overall, you just have like this vibe about you where you just have this kid-like nature to yourself, and it's only a good thing, bro.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that, for real. But yeah, I love being a kid. Kids are the coolest. They think the best. They have the best way of thinking, and I can't deny it.
Yeah. I love that, man. And that brings me back to, just like growing up and, talking about family stories. Let's speak on the family topic real quick if we could.
Mhm.
Let me ask you, bro, like, I know for a fact when Filipino families find out that their child or their kid is going into the entrepreneurship side. Like some families don't always think that it's a secure way of life. What was your experience when you decided to tell your mom or your dad, like, hey, like I'm gonna go like full time, I'm quitting my job and I'm going full time into real estate. Like what was that transition like?
Yeah, that's a good one. They were supportive, of course. My mom, even to this day, would love for me to finish college. I think my dad would also, but my dad, coming from a similar background from mine, not finishing school, can see where I come from or can feel where I come from. But um, I definitely get the go back to school, son of this, in Tagalog. That's like, you should do this, or too bad you didn't do this, right? But yeah, it was I got the support, which was great. But there was definitely some questions and worries, and will you make it? But in my mind, I'm like, there's no other fucking way. Like, what else am I gonna do? Like, like I'm not gonna go back to school and be depressed again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I asked that question just to ask this, like, you know, of course, like Filipino families, they come to this country when they first migrate, right? They want to have like financial security for us. Like that's the whole reason they moved out here. Like, our families are from the Philippines, but they moved out here as immigrants to give us a better life. And I just think that sometimes families take it hard when it's not something safe like nursing
Nursing,
or pharmacy or a
doctor,
doctor.
a
'Cause
lawyer.
those are all great jobs. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm throwing no shade at anybody out there
Right.
who's achieved those things. Like all the power to you. But, one size does not fit all. And, I just love asking that question. I plan to ask that question to a lot of the guests that come on the show. Because I think it's important. It's like important to see like the culture and like just kind of speak on the fact of doing something a little bit different than what they may have. And for me, like a family full of nurses, I didn't go that route. But I can honestly say like my parents are still like very proud of like what I've done with my life up until this point. But now I'm on a mission to make them even prouder, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm gonna try to build this business and build it as best as I can possibly can so that I can pass it on to my daughter and pass it on to her kids and their grandkids. So, the whole premise of legacy for generations is so that my future grandkids can look up the family tree and be like, oh man, great grandpa Mark like started this cool legacy for us all. And that's the whole reason, I got into this business. All right. So jumping into the next part here that we wanted to discuss today is, getting into the 9 to 5 mindset or out of the 9 to 5 mindset, actually. Like you like to call it a certain way. Like what do you like to call it? You call it the dark side, right?
I call it the dark side.
Yeah.
And I only call it that because most people live in the 9 to 5. I just thought it was a fun way of, I mean, villain mindset and whatnot, right? I just thought it was a fun way of addressing it. By no means at all do I mean like it's the evil side or whatnot. It's just the way I process things sometimes, or how I like to have fun with things. But yeah, the dark side.
Yeah, yeah. Because it reminds me like dark side sounds like, bro, you're either like a Star Wars fan or you're just like, bro, I love villains. I love that villain mentality, bro. But I hear you, man. It's definitely not like the evil side that we're talking about whatsoever. And I just wanted to just dive into like what the dark side really kind of means, man. Is I read a book called Relentless by Tim Grover, which I actually have the copy of it right here. I'm showing it to the camera. But, basically when I read Relentless, bro, they tap into what it means to tap in with the dark side. And that's like, Michael Jordan, Kobe. So it's definitely a book for like sports lovers. And what I think tapping into the dark side is to know the right amount of like ego to put into something. Like we all like to talk about like, we got to kill our ego. It's definitely true. But how about learning how to control your ego?
Right.
Meaning like if you're going to get into sports, business, whatever it is that you're diving into, to just tap into that side of wanting more for yourself and like pushing yourself to the next level and to not quit and to keep your eye on the goal at hand, which I think that a lot of people just kind of struggle to do. Like what I mean by that is, when we're asked, like, think 10 years down the line, think about what you want your life to be. It's so hard. Like I don't know if you can expand on that on your end, but like how do you feel about just what's your mindset about thinking about your own future? Like even 10, 15 years from now, like do you tap into that, or are you more of a person that just lives in the moment?
I am a very big live in the moment person, but I do think about the future a lot. Obviously, I want everything to be a certain way. Everyone wishes for that for themselves, and you work and strive for that. But it's not always easy to get there, right?
Mhm.
I mean, try. I mean, I don't think I could say that I've achieved a 10-year plan as like up to this point, but I definitely do make mindful decisions on what is going to be for me financially for the future, or like my older self for when I'm of retirement age or whatnot, making sure that's set up for myself for that. But the whole 10-year things, I mean, simple things like family, kid, whatnot.
Mhm. Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, I definitely try to live in the moment as much as possible too. Like I always thought, right? Like as we become more mindful and just like learning to grow within ourselves and be more like self-fulfilling people, like, living in the now is so important.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to add that like also thinking in the future is very powerful too,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what I feel is like really beneficial if people can take their mindset to that next level is to remember their future. So remember your future. What that basically means is, think about yourself as like an 80-year-old person, right? Like I know we're getting kind of off tangent from what relentless is, but think of yourself as an 80-year-old guy. If you can just like put yourself in that mind space of like 80-year-old Mark, like, and tap in with him in like a moment where you need to like make a decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember your future self when you're about to get like really angry or like about to like slam a chair into a wall because you're pissed off at something. Like, would your 80-year-old self really want you to do that? Like, I envision my 80-year-old self being like, Mark, just cool it. You're young right now. You have like your whole like, future ahead of you. Don't react so in the moment,
Right.
but just know that it just brush it off. Like
Mm-hmm.
handle this moment with grace and move on about your life. Like I tend to think about my future in that way now, like more nowadays. But at the same time, I still do want to live in the moment as much as possible. But I am tapping in with like my future self and like who I want to be in the future. And a lot of people sometimes when I talk that deep on that deeper level with people, like it's hard for them to like really envision that, that older future self, like version of themselves. But I think it's really important to do it because for one thing, it just comes with the whole territory of like manifesting,
Right.
right? So if I can like dive deep into like my version of manifesting is like, a lot of people out there may think like manifesting means thinking something and it's going to come true. Like manifesting isn't like a genie in the bottle, right?
Right.
Like I can't be like, bro, I want to be a millionaire. So think it. And now I get to go sit on my couch and watch, The Last of Us, on rerun or whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm gonna be a millionaire. Like I think people think sometimes that's what manifesting is, but it can be further from the truth, right?
Right.
My version of, or what I like to explain manifesting is you think about that end goal so much, like you tap in with it every morning,
Mm-hmm.
every day. You tap in with that manifestation of what you want, whether that's a healthy family, whether that's wealth or a big house. Like you're manifesting these things so the universe can guide you towards it. So what I like to think of it as is if we keep on tapping in with our manifestations of what we want, the daily decisions that we run into are going to guide us slowly towards that goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what manifestation is. It's tapping in with the final like thought process of what you want, and then those small decisions are what leads you to that goal because you keep on thinking about it,
Right.
right? Like if you are a person that wants to lose a lot of weight, but you can't picture yourself as skinny. You can only picture yourself as fat. I don't know, like whatever. I'm probably making like a bad, comparison here, but what I mean by that is like you've got to be able to envision yourself completing and being successful at the task that you want. Otherwise, you're just going to bounce back into, just wishing it were true and not doing the actions that make it true.
Yeah, because pretty much if you like, I think I get what you're saying. Is pretty much if you don't see or if you can't vision the end goal, then what are you working towards, right? Like you're pretty much stagnant and you're just kind of going wherever the wind takes you. So it is important to know your direction, and yeah, in order to do that, you do have to tap in with your future self and see what you want for yourself, and think about what your future self would be proud of in your daily actions today, right?
Right. Dude, 100%. And like I had such a tough time in the past of just thinking about my future.
Mm-hmm.
And like I love talking about topics like this because I used to be that guy that just, I didn't care about money. I didn't care about like I did want to flex in the wrong way. I just had like, my mindset was just so backwards, you know what I mean?
From what it is now.
Yeah, from what it is now, it's just so like different. And, it was just so hard for me to even just envision I make it to the age I am today.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I didn't even want to go visit there. Like, like I was like, I don't want to think of myself as old. I want to like enjoy myself while I'm like 22 and young or whatever, But I think it really is important to know what manifestation is and know what it is to be an abundant person and like live an abundant mindset constantly, because what that does is it just opens you up. Like if you're a closed-minded person, it's hard for you to accept these blessings that the universe is trying to give you. Or
Right.
if you're into Christianity, like what God is trying to give you, like when you go to church or you go to, whatever sermons they say, this like they just always tell you like open yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Open yourself up so you can receive these blessings. If I'm going through life with closed hands, closed fists, how am I going to accept anything? Right. So I think about that now, and I didn't used to think about that, but I think about that like constantly, like, so, how about yourself? Like, what do you feel like you do as far, or how do you feel about manifestation and like the abundance mindset?
Yeah. It's funny because I don't think I ever thought about stuff like that either, to be honest. But I do unknowingly grew up with an abundant mindset. You may hear me say it every now and then. It's like, I don't chase money, money chases me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a Charles statement right there. Book it.
But yeah, like I never thought about, having an open mind. I think maybe I've just been open-minded for so long. Maybe I just an open-minded person, I feel like, in general.
Mhm.
So I never thought of like the part of having closed hands that you said, and not being able to accept anything, because I am willing to listen to almost anything, and I may rebuttal or agree or whatever, but I do want to hear what other people's thought processes are, why they think like that. And to each their own, right? Like
Yeah.
I could adapt some of it, or I could just take it for what it is. So that's an interesting thing to hear, because me personally, I've never even thought like that. I don't think I have, at least.
And like, I feel like now that I'm like a little bit older, it's just ingrained in me to think like that. And maybe, while you were growing up, you kind of just had that instilled or ingrained in you, which is amazing, but for some of us, we have to learn how to like be open like that. Like I'm seeing now, looking back, like I was closed off to things a little bit. Like still, like, people like to be around me. I was like always the funny guy. I was like the class clown in high school and stuff like that. So people were around me, but I can honestly say, like, I was deeper than just like being a funny guy, or I was like deeper than just being like the DJ at the club that liked to drink and party and have fun. But a lot of people like to put me in that box, but that's what I put out there. You know what I mean? But what I love about just talking to people and getting their ideas and hearing their experiences, like I take this mindset from a lot of them. You know what I mean? And even from yourself, you know, just going through life, being open to people and open to other things at an early age is something that I look up to, because now I'm like kind of like learning that now. But it definitely took a lot of growth and just watching like videos and people talk on this topic. Like I love listening to other podcasts of people talking about mindset and like the importance of just like being abundant and open-minded and stuff like that, dude. I can't get enough of, like, every single day I'm listening to like a lot of different podcasts that just tap into the positivity mindset, you know. So
Yeah.
cool story, man. But I will say this. So are you personally into things like meditation?
I mean, I grew up aware of meditation. I wouldn't say I like practiced it or anything like that. There are times when, yeah, I do like sit down in my own thoughts and take deep breaths and whatnot, to try to relax myself or control, you know, my body or whatnot, some ninja shit, you know. But as for meditation itself, I would say in the last year or so, it's been more. It's been there's been more meditation in my life in the last year, thanks to some friends who opened me up to that, and me realizing that how much it helped relax myself, because I am, for the most part, very active minded.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to slow things down. It's like
Right.
reasons why I can't sleep at night or whatever. So it has helped me to like just relax, calm down, and slow my mind, and been thankful for that really for the last year.
Did you do like a Reiki massage or something like that, or
No,
was that in the plans?
No, but I do have friends who practice Reiki. I've never participated in anything like that, but I am open to it.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Would be cool, and like they have those like sound healing and whatnot.
Right.
You know, cool. But I don't know. I'm also very logical. Like I said, I'm open to it, but I'm also very like, you know, like straight and like, let's get to the point and fucking get this shit done.
See, I think that's what our dynamic on this show is going to be, because I'm a deep believer in meditation. Not saying that you're not, but I'm saying I'm open to all of that. But then, you know, you being you, you're like, I believe in it, but I'm all right for right now.
Like the crystals and whatnot, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna come to the show, dude, and just be like, dude, Charles, you know, put this crystal in your left pocket. All right,
Light this incense.
yeah, light this incense, and you know, I heard it works great. You know, this is what all the good, you know, this is what Gary Vaynerchuk, this is what he does in his podcast. So please put this crystal here in your left palm, and repeat after me. But dude, like, I think that's gonna be like our dynamic moving forward. Is like, I'm so open to talking about it and like to owning that part of myself and learning about it. Like, I love like learning about stuff like that. There's a spiritual side to business, I believe. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't really believe in that. Like, oh, business is business. Like, it's hustler mentality. We out here trying to get the bag, whoop, whatever. But dude, I'm so just in this space of, you know, envisioning fulfillment and like all the things coming together. When you become like a enriched and fulfilled person, like all those things will just come with the territory. And for me personally, you know, I do meditate like every morning, right? Like I've read the 6-phase meditation, right? So a lot of people may think like meditation has to be you sit quiet in your room for an hour. Bro, that's hard.
That's hella hard.
I don't do that.
I for sure cannot do that.
Yeah, I had to research a type of meditation that worked for me, because first of all, I have like these shaky legs. Like I gotta keep on moving my legs all the time, bro. So with that said, like I couldn't just like sit by myself. It's one of the scariest things you can do if you try it. Is like if you're gonna test yourself, like just sit in your room, like in a posture and sit there for 60 minutes, bro. That's
discipline.
tough.
Some discipline.
I don't do that. Like all the power to the people that do that, but Really quickly, what I wanted to talk about is like the 6 phase meditation. It's a really quick, like, value based meditation. What I like about it is it's guided. It's not just like, okay, like sit in your stance with your legs crossed and listen to your breath. Did you hear that sound? Tune it out. Like, I don't like that stuff, dude. This one that I'm talking about is guided, meaning like he is guiding you through the meditation. It's only 20 minutes. So you're listening to his voice, but like what I like about it is it's condensed and it's like to the point. It's almost like he's instructing you on what to do, what to think, the power of like putting a vision in your head,
Yeah.
like as if like your mind is like a screen that you can just project a picture onto your screen and just envision yourself 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like how you are when you're like an 80-year-old. And I really just recommend people out there to like try it out. Like, you know, like I said, like meditation doesn't have to be like a one size fit all type of meditation. You know, I definitely encourage people to listen to the 6 phase meditation. It's really short. It's really short and sweet. Like I do it every single morning and it just helped me just grow my mindset like a lot. And I've been doing it. I think I started reading it in like around September, October, like after we came back from Vegas from a convention. I just started to just, I don't know, something just called to me to just get into meditation every morning. I definitely say meditate, because what I like to think about meditation is it's almost like it's like we get bombarded with all these ideas, so many things from social media, from the news, and we just like pile those things onto our brain, right? So like when we meditate, it's almost like we're clearing our browser history. Like you're on the internet, like you're like, bro, I looked at so many shit today, like so much shit today. Like, oh, look at all this, and I haven't like reset my browser history after like 2 weeks. Like, bro, like reset that.
It's kind of like a healing process.
Oh, dude, absolutely, man. And like if you do it like every morning, you just give yourself this opportunity to like set the tone for the day and just like start fresh and just, you know, clear that cachet that's like been building all this stuff on your mind, and you just feel so good, dude. So yeah, really just to close up the topic, you know, meditation for me is just really that important, and it's helped me so much in not just my business, but just to reset my mind and get out of my mind, because so much of the time we're thinking the most worst things that can happen. At least for me, I would always think like, oh man, what if this happens, doesn't go my way? And what if I get into this and it doesn't go my way? Or what if like the people that are watching this video like don't like the way I look? Like, bro, I need to just get over that whole thing and just be my authentic self, just who I am. And it's just take it or leave it. But if I didn't meditate on that, then I think I would just really not progress. Like I wouldn't want to start a podcast.
You'd still be eating on yourself.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to jump into a business and build a business for myself and my family. Like I would probably tell myself I'm not good enough to do that.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, like what I mean by that is like, you know, you have, like for me, I have to reset that mindset, because that's just, I'm talking about like the old self. Like that's the old person talking, trying to get out. And just like, that's how I used to self-talk. Like real talk, man. That's how I used to like self-talk to myself. And if I didn't meditate and learn how to meditate, I really think I would hold on to those feelings of myself and just not really progress.
Man, that's
Right.
wild. I mean, I've never really thought like that. So to hear that, it's like kind of mind blowing, man. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like nobody should think about themselves like that. Like you are good enough at everything.
Right.
You know, you are enough or whatever it is. So thanks for sharing that, man. That's deep.
And I'm not like scared to get vulnerable. Like, I think that's just a part of who I am now. It's like I'm open, bro. Like, you know, people can ask me anything and I'll just be an open book. You know, like I'll be honest, man. I had, you know, a lot of self-doubt and a lot of self-talk, and I know I'm not the only one. So, you know, starting a podcast to talk about those, you know, I know this isn't particularly about like business and entrepreneurship, but I do believe in, you know, releasing the fears that you have and being better and growing your mind so that you can be better yourself.
Right.
And like, I think a low key, you know, segment on what business is. It can do that for you if you look at it in the right light. You know.
Yeah.
So, Charles, we had like a good first episode, man. I'm just super grateful to even just be here, sitting here with you, and we're gonna start this off, this podcast in a really good, strong, like good vibration. But to close it all off on our first episode, like what is it that you like want to talk about to close it off here on LFG?
Well, first, I do want to thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on here with you and going through this journey with you and help letting me express myself, I guess. But what I would love to talk about for legacy is, I mean, just to touch on how you would yourself talk to yourself, and how I feel like I've never experienced that, is mindset. Mindset's a big thing, and I do feel like there are a lot of people in the next generation or even in our generation where their mindset is just not what it should be. Like, I think kids should grow up with a hustler's mentality rather than a give me mentality, which is where a lot of kids are at right now. You know what I mean? And I only hope for like, all the kids that I know in my life or whatever, my two nephews, that they adapt that from me. I know it could be a little intense. I know I could be a little intense, especially because I'm pretty competitive. But it's never to be harsh or be harmful or anything. Like, maybe I am a little bit hard on you, but I want you to have a strong mental capacity to be able to move forward and tough things out.
Yeah, and the two nephews that you're referring to are your sister's kids, right?
My sister's kids.
Yeah.
I have two of them. One's 2, one's just turned 1. And I don't have any kids, but these two, man, I did not know. I mean, I know I love kids, but I did not know how much I love kids after experiencing these two being born and what I want for them, even though they're not mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, I freaking love that, man. I connect with that so much, dude, because, it doesn't have to be your own children that you want to build a legacy for.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like you have to have this huge family in order to want to leave a legacy. You know what I mean? Leaving a legacy for, your nephews is so huge because like when you do get your own children, you're going to want to do that, even more.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the LFG podcast. Hit that follow button. Keep up with us on IG, Facebook, and YouTube. Handle is @LegacyForGenerations. And make sure to stay tuned for our weekly podcast drops located on all major podcast platforms like Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Peace.